I just want to say a couple words about LoraKim. The reason I'm up here is LoraKim and I are co-directors of a nonprofit called One Earth Conservation, and I've known her now for about a little more than 4 years. LoraKim is a really interesting person because in addition to being a Unitarian Universalist minister, she is an avian wildlife veterinarian who travels to Latin America regularly to help save endangered parrots down there. She works very closely with the people, particularly indigenous people, and has had a very big impact in the 5 countries in which she works, which are, let's see if I could get them all, Guatemala, Paraguay, Nicaragua, Honduras, and Guyana. And she's also a certified trainer in nonviolent communication. So she puts all that together and has a very unique way of looking at life, and it's right on par with our principle that we're focusing on this coming church year, the 7th principle. So give a welcome to LoraKim Joyner.
I am also a community minister affiliated with the White Plains congregation, so it's lovely. Hello from White Plains this morning. Let us open our service and our hearts with these words from Mary Oliver. What is the greatest gift? Could it be the world itself, the oceans, the meadowlark, the patience of the trees and the wind? Could it be love with the sweet clamor of passion? Something else holds me entirely in thrall. Could it be that I wonder about your life more than I wonder about my own? That you have a life, courteous and intelligence, that I wonder about more than my own? That you have a soul, yours, no one else's, that I wonder about more than my own. And so my soul finds itself clapping more for yours than for my own. And for the hope of that beauty that is in us and connected all around us, we gather today. We are here on this earth to pray. Now, I'm not talking about the kind of praying where you call intentionally sacredness into your life. I'm talking about the kind of praying that predators do. We humans don't escape the tension of the predator-prey relationships. It's a beautiful thing. We evolved to take care of ourselves, but it comes at great cost to others. I've always thought that we humans needed another principle or source or tradition that captured the idea we must harm to survive, and because of that, we're going to reduce suffering wherever we can. Albert Schweitzer, the author of the Reverence for Life ethic, he said that we are here to witness to suffering and to do everything we can to reduce it. He called it the necessity of life that we must harm to survive, and it lays a great burden on all of us. We feel and we see the suffering of life around us. But he said, take heart, we can reduce this burden. We can lighten our load through reverence for life, because it engenders a greater commitment and connection to the flourishing of all life. And this commitment can yield great results. Let me give you just a couple examples. Here's one. Archaeologists have found that every human culture has been involved with sexual violence. Every culture ever. It doesn't mean so much that we evolved or that we have to do it, but it's like it's hardwired that we're open to that human behavior because it repeats in every culture. Other things repeat too: murder, the making of weapons, as well as inter and intra-violent community conflict. It's in our DNA. But Steven Pinker says in the book, The Better Angels of Our Nature, he does all these graphs, and he says, since we were hunter-gatherers, the violence has decreased in all of these areas. Culture evolution is controlling our biology. So just because we evolved to do it doesn't mean that we do it. But how in the world do we use culture evolution to control our biology? It looks like we're pretty good at some things, but can we do it in time? Do you all feel like time is running out? Yeah. Will we have the will to commit when our biology is so strongly about dominance, about eating others, about extracting and moving migrations of people and wildlife, and about overconsumption? Can we do it? And so now I do want to talk about that kind of praying. I think we do need to pray for reverence in our life and for the miracle of commitment that we can do this, people. So let me give you another example about how reverence for life and commitment worked with one group of people I know, and maybe with us here today. As Gail said, I am a wildlife veterinarian. I work in Central America with marginalized communities, and one of our projects is in La Mosquitia, Honduras, with the indigenous people, Mosquito people. I was attracted to go there because the indigenous people want to protect their scarlet macaw. So it's this one right here. It's a big rainbow bird with a red tail that goes on forever. There used to be tens of thousands of them in Honduras, but not anymore. There's just several hundred. And so the people want to protect these birds. Why? Because the international wildlife trade wants these birds as pets. So they're being taken out and sold over the whole world, taking the youngsters from their families. Now, these international pressures is not only impacting the parrots, but also the people. People with more money, more power, more privilege want those people's land and are willing to kill for it. Tomas is one of the elders of the village that first went with us when we went to Honduras, and he just grew exasperated of the people who kept taking his trees, his land, killing his people, taking his parrots. So he turned in the names of the people who were doing this. And those people, in revenge, waited for him down at the river where he took his daily bath. 4 of them, and each of them shot him. He nearly died. They helicoptered him out in multiple surgeries, and he survived. 5 months later, he's back in his village where the people had to flee because of the threats of violence, where homes were burned down to have the indigenous people to leave. But he came back at risk to his own life. We had to hire the military to go in. And everybody's got pistols and guns and machetes. And the very first morning, he takes us for a walk down to the Rus River. And he shows us his still pink and aching scars that the surgeries and the bullets did, and the bullets that are still there. And I said, Tomas, why are you willing to risk your life for parrots? And he told me, Doctora, everything is at risk. And I'm willing to risk everything. If the birds don't make it, neither do my people. That's some wisdom. I mean, he's not alone in that. Slowly, his village people have been coming back over the years. This was in 2009 and 10, to repopulate the villages, even though the violence continues, the death threats continue. And we went back in 2011, and we did a survey. Said, oh, over 80% of your nests are being poached. People are taking the parrots illegally. And they said, oh, let's try to do something about that. So as soon as we left, the poachers came in and started taking all the parrots, and the villagers, at risk to their own life, went back into the homes, into the forest, and they took those baby birds back. And they raised them without electricity, without know-how, without any resources, and they've been doing it ever since, and they care for these chicks until they're ready to fly at about 4 months of age. And then they open the door, and the birds begin to learn to fly, and they can go out and join their parents that they were removed from, their brothers, their sisters, their cousins, their grandparents, their future mates. They are flying free. And every day they come back to the village to eat rice and beans with them. They're still feeding the birds. Now, we don't need to romanticize these people. They're just like us. They fuss with each other. They make bad decisions. They choose their desires that harm others. But maybe they know something or have learned something a little better than we have in our culture here. They know that there is no center of privilege in the world. Everyone has to be taken care of. As Tomas said, if the birds don't make it, neither do we. They feel that if the birds are flying free, they are free. So when they liberate the birds, they're liberating themselves. When they're freeing the birds, when they're saving the birds, they are saving themselves. And it's been hard for them. In 2012, a drug gang came into their remote village and threatened to kill everybody and stole all their valuables. But not the birds, because they were flying overhead. In 2014, when we were there, not one single scarlet macaw chick escaped the illegal wildlife trade. They were all caught. They were all taken. 2014. Some years, they don't have enough resources to feed themselves or their children, or let alone the parrots. How do you decide who to take care of? If we're all valuable, how do we do our resources and our time to take care of everybody? Albert Schweitzer would suggest that we use reverence for life. He said that by having reverence for life, we enter into a spiritual connection with the world. By practicing reverence for life, we become deep and good and alive. Reverence for life can help us connect to life and commit to life, but it doesn't do it through blame or shame. It takes us out of the denial that not everybody has inherent worth and dignity, and it leads us through the way by action, because reverence for life also comes with 2 other R's: responsibility and reciprocity. Life is a great gift. It is given to us. And so we give back as much as we can for the flourishing of all. All of us are responsible for everyone. That's what reverence calls us to. We can also navigate reverence for life in this sort of predator-prey relationship. Maybe we don't need another principle. Maybe we can use the ones we've got. I understand that you all are studying the 7th principle this year, and last year it was the 1st principle. So what reverence for life says, every individual of every species has inherent worth and dignity. That's our 1st principle. And the 7th principle says that we're all interrelated in beauty, and tragedy, harm, and benefit. So what happens to another happens to us, and we care and strive for every individual, because every individual has worth and dignity. Our principles tell us that none are free until all are free. But winning freedom takes commitment, and it takes time. It takes slowing down. So in my work as a wildlife veterinarian working in these countries, I'm a stealth minister. I help us slow down. And people want to slow down. And so one year in Honduras, we were gathering the community around, which they do, and we gathered in a circle, and it's time to pray and to give words of wisdom for the opening of the conservation year when the birds are breeding. And it came around to my time, and I said, I'm going to give them the words of Mary Oliver's poem, Wild Geese. Except in Honduras, they don't have geese. So please forgive me, Mary Oliver, I changed the poem to use macaws instead. And so I began. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the jungles repenting. You only have to love what the soft animal of your body loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world moves on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes. Meanwhile, the macaws, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. And right when I got to that point of the poem, we heard off in the distance, rah, rah! 5 scarlet macaws headed towards the village. It had become a rare sighting, where groups of 50 used to fly over. 5 was rare, especially around the village. And it probably meant a family of young chicks and parents. And so they started flying towards us as I finished the poem. No matter who you are, no matter how lonely you are, the world offers itself to your imagination. It calls to you like the wild macaws, harsh and exciting, announcing over and over again your place in the family of things. And right as I got to that part of the poem, that family of 5 was directly overhead squawking. We cried. People of so many different languages and backgrounds and origins gathered in that village because the macaws were telling us that we belonged. And out of that came a commitment to life around us and in us. The kind of commitment that is fueled by a reverence for life that allows ordinary people to do extraordinary results in extraordinary times. I said how in that village in 2014, every macaw was taken, every young chick. In 2016, not one was taken for the wildlife trade. 2 years turnaround. 2017, not one was taken for the wildlife trade. Their village is now the core of a project of the largest parrot conservation program in the world that is protected by community members. Such miracles are the dream of congregational life. Healed by reverence, we say yes to life, and life says yes to us. Fueled by reverence, we give the gift back for others. Now, each of us finds reverence in different things. Mine happen to be birds and peoples of Latin America, but yours might be like a walk, which we're going to do later. It might be a good meal, which we are definitely going to do later. A child at play, a prayer to God or the trees. But whatever is your way of reference, stalk it relentlessly. For we are fierce predators. And let us pray for reverence in our life, for the beauty of the earth.